Hello, hi, and welcome to Political Quickie, your political show that subjectively discusses current affairs in South Africa and all around the world. My name is Mabuza. Former finance minister, aka Candy Crusher player, Malusi Gigaba, has announced the 2018 budget speech where he increased value-added tax from 14% to 15%. I mean, when he said that, I was like, but I knew these politicians watch Political Quickie. It's fine because we discussed this, we recommended it, and they did it. Yes. So other taxation that will be increased include income tax, property tax, the levy on road accident fund, as well as fuel tax, and of course, sin tax. That's another recommendation we made, but it's fine. It's okay. We are all together next. So there is a debate in terms of, whether or not this is good, whether or not the increase in value added tax is good. But here's the thing, it is a disadvantage in the short run. But in the long run, when we think about how government didn't have money to fund free higher education, the immediate thing to do is to look to tax. That's the common sense thing to do. And so in the long run, it does benefit us, because think of the South African youth that will be educated because of this free higher education. So disadvantage in the short run, but a huge advantage in the long run. Moving on to other news, however, Matamela, President Cyril Ramaphosa has finally reshuffled his cabinet. So we expected the president to start at 8:30, but because of the Ramaphosa effect, we only found out at around 10 yesterday. So he came out looking quite sad and quite distraught and in distress. Apparently he was stuck in talks with, his counterparts about who should be part of his cabinet. And by looking at his cabinet, not everyone in there are people that he wanted to be in his cabinet. So you could argue that it is for the lack of a backbone on his part that he didn't get everyone that he wanted and did not fire everyone that he wanted to fire. Biggie Cele makes a comeback as Minister of Police, Mr. Shoot to Kill. Pravin Gordon, the accidental hero, comes back as the Minister of Public Enterprises. David Reinhard Mashoba remains within a cabinet as the Minister of Science and Technology. Bladen Zimbabwe resumes his ministerial duties and becomes Minister of Transport. Hey, get this? Nhlanhla Nene, hello, is back. Although we would have liked to have someone younger, but you know what? He is quite a good minister. He comes back and replaces Candy Crusher player Malusi Gigaba as Minister of Finance. Gweta Mantashe makes a debut as the Minister of Mineral Resources. So, you know what? My immediate thought was like, we can just forget about protecting our vibranium dun if, Mr. Avoid or ignore corruption is the Minister of Mineral Resources. Nomvula Mkonyane comes back. Mama Action will pick up the economy as the Minister of Communications. But the two most shocking appointments, right? Two most shocking appointments. Number one, Bathabile Dlamini as the Minister of Women. Okay. So in my opinion, Bathabile Dlamini is one of the most incompetent ministers in South African democratic history. She has given billions of rands to CPS based on a contract that was found by the Constitutional Court to be illegal and constitutionally invalid. She has not found a way for social development to provide grants in an effective and internal manner. I mean, to this day, it's just like, it gives me a headache. Also, this person who's supposed to be the Minister of Women She came out the other day saying that, allegedly Cyril Ramaphosa is involved in some sort of abusive relationship. But as somebody who is the president of the ANC Women's League, you could have elaborated and said he did this to who? And allow justice to take its course, because apparently you're supposed to protect women. But no, she was just, dropping on my hands, on my sauce, but not actually saying anything. I think also for the ANC government to have the Department of Women is more like the UN going and estimating how many people in Syria will be displaced by the Syrian war, knowing very well, and then and giving them food parcels as well, knowing very well that the UN is a proxy for the US and Russia, the very two nations that are busy bombing Syria. So the ANC has enabled patriarchy. During its elective conference, there was only one woman within the NEC top six. So it's just crazy. It's like you enable patriarchy and then you come and say, but we shall solve the problem with this very nice Department of Women and Disabled People. So very hypocritical of them in the first place. I just think that Bathabile Dlamini is incompetent, and it's absolutely unbelievable that she remains within the cabinet, even though, this move is to buy allegiance from the ANC Women's League. Secondly, Mabuza, in my opinion, the most dangerous politician in South African democratic history. First of all, how is it that a deputy president gets the most votes within the ANC elective conference? How does that even happen? He's the premier of Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga is known as the kingmakers within the ANC. And so he went on saying, no, guys, NTZ will win. And then he said, Zuma will stay until the end of his term. And then he turned around and he's like, no, unity, everybody. Let's, we're going for the unity slate. And so somehow, miraculously, Cyril Ramaphosa ended up winning the presidency seat. So he had something to do with that because he was the head of Mpumalanga. He has allegedly been linked to the political killings in Mpumalanga. He is being accused of being captured by a businessman, Robert Gumete. He's the most interesting character. Jacob Zuma, tactician, strategist, but Didi Mabuza is like on another level. In an interview with ENCA, he said that his favorite book is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and that he plays chess by himself, all by himself with the computer. That means that, human beings are not even on his intellectual level of playing chess. He needs a whole computer to be able to be on his tactician level. That's how crazy it is. In 2015, according to the Huffington Post, he was poisoned and he went to Russia to go get, medical attention. I know that story sounds familiar. Jacob Zuma was also poisoned, and, it was Russia that allegedly exposed the whole saga. So that in itself is also pretty fishy. He's just like a fishy, shady character from all sides. And whatever his plan is, whether it is to, unseat Cyril Ramaphosa in future the way that we've seen with Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, we don't know. I think the only thing that could potentially stop Didi Mabuza is if the ANC does not win the 2019 elections and any other elections after that. So South Africans, if you want to be saved from the wrath that is to come by Didi Mabuza, the only thing to do would be to choose the lesser evil between the DA and the EFF. So will we go for, the racially challenged DA or the somewhat hypocritical EFF? So it's just a matter of choosing the lesser evil of the two. But for me personally, the ANC is not a choice come 2019. None whatsoever. Moving right along to international news, Donald J. Trump is in a bit of a predicament. So we know that there have been mass shootings in the US. The latest one being a shooting at a school in Florida where multiple students were gunned down. Donald Trump's predicament is that his base is, really passionate about the Second Amendment right, which is to own guns. And then you have this large part of the population that is suffering because of the poor control over gun regulation in the US. So Donald Trump is stuck between a rock and a hard place. But he was like, no, fear not, because I know how to solve this problem. I can solve it. And he said he will arm teachers in schools. So teachers will be walking around with guns. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a terrible idea. The subconscious and conscious intimidation that this creates is paramount. That's first. Secondly, can you imagine the accidental shootings that could occur from this? Thirdly, black people in the US are gunned down on a regular basis because of the color of their skin. How are we to know that black students in schools will be safe from these guns that these teachers will now own? How will we know that they will not all of a sudden be dropping like flies within the institutions of learning? So I don't think Donald Trump was thinking very straight in this instance, like in most instances. I think the US Congress needs to figure out proper gun control and leave teachers and giving them guns alone. Like, leave that alone. Hey! Anyways, that was Political Quickie. My name is Mabuza Mura. Use your talents to serve humanity. And I hope you guys really, really like the new graphics. Thank you to X Media and Sound Hub for providing that. So I hope you guys enjoy them. And yes, I will see you next week. Be awesome.